The Day Al Capone Came to Town. Story 164. One beautiful summer morning, Paul and I walked Bubba Doo, the faithful and under-your-feet wiener dog, down to Cat Cove on the Ohio River. The Pittsburgh prison cats live behind the old penitentiary and are well cared for by volunteers and friends who donate supplies and money to keep the stray cats healthy and safe. Walking down the hill on McClure Avenue, we passed the old St. John's Hospital site. The hospital was built for the mill workers of Allegheny City, back when the North Side was a separate city from Pittsburgh. Bubba Doo reminded us that in front of St. John's, one of the most famous mob hits in Pittsburgh history occurred. See Story 58, The Dogfather. Bubba barked that Pittsburgh was home to one of the 24 mafia families that controlled the manufacturing, transporting, and selling of moonshine and bathtub gin. They paid off politicians, judges, and the police, and ruled the streets with impunity. In Pittsburgh, two factions were constantly at war with one another. In the north and south sides was the Sicilian Mafia, and controlling the East End was the Neapolitan Camorra. The two violently battled for control of the Italian neighborhoods of Homewood, Larimer, and the Hill District. And in the suburbs, fatalities rose as the two factions fought in McKees Rocks, New Kensington, Wilkinsburg, and Braddock. From 1926 to 1933, there were over 200 mob hits. Bubba reminded us of Story 129, Good to the Last Drop, when he discussed the coffee shop murder of the Volpe brothers when they tried to muscle in on territory not theirs. We crossed under the California Avenue Bridge by Don's Diner and covered our heads in case anything fell off the bridge. The city has placed huge nets to capture falling debris as the bridge awaits repairs. Right under the bridge was an old nightclub, the Eagle, that Paul and I frequented back in the day. After walking under the Route 65 bridge and the Norfolk Southern Railroad Bridge, we arrived at Preble Avenue. We turned right and then a quick left onto West Hall Street. At the end of the dead-end street is Cat Cove. As the cats saw Bubba approaching, they ran to greet him. We walked back to the little houses the volunteers of Pittsburgh prison cats had built for them. Bubba broke out a can opener and cans of tuna. After filling all their bowls, Bubba barked at the cats that he was telling us a story about the Pittsburgh Mafia. The cats meowed that they wanted to hear the story. After telling the kitties what he told us, he barked that he really wanted to tell us the story of the day Al Capone came to town. On March 16, 1929, Al Capone was arrested in Philadelphia and charged with carrying an unlicensed and concealed firearm. He was sentenced to 1 year in prison at the Eastern Penitentiary in Philadelphia, the twin facility of Pittsburgh's Western Penn. 1 year later, on March 17, 1930, a crowd of over 1,500 gathered outside the prison walls of Eastern Penn. At 4 a.m., a brown Buick sedan pulled up and whisked the boss of Chicago to the state prison farm in Gruttersford, 35 miles north of Philadelphia. Here, Capone waited for the parole documents to arrive after being signed by Pennsylvania Governor John Fisher. Fisher's call to fame was built around him creating several state parks, including Cook's Forest. As the day continued, Capone's friends in Chicago became baffled as the mobster never showed up. A tri-motor Ford airplane had been waiting across the Delaware River from Philadelphia in Camden, New Jersey, to fly him home to Chicago. But Al Capone had disappeared. Was he flying to Chicago, riding a train, or traveling by car? No one knew. Bubba asked the prison cats if they had any idea where the mobster went after he left the prison farm in eastern Pennsylvania. They meowed they had no idea. Bubba pointed up the Ohio River to the McKees Rocks Bridge and barked, "McKees Rocks." While the rest of the nation searched high and low for Capone, on Wednesday, March 19th, he had snuck into town in a brown sedan. He visited a hotel on Island Avenue in McKees Rocks and met with several prominent politicians. These included Miles Byron and James Westwood. Bubba looked at me and barked that yes, it was James Westwood from story 157, Curse of the Kick. While in McKees Rocks, Capone reportedly handed out $100 bills to the town's children. Bubba finished his story by saying that Capone was last seen getting into a heavily armored car after spending the day at the Island Avenue Hotel. For days, no one but a select few in McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, knew his whereabouts. It was speculated that he was holed up in Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, and Wisconsin. Police even raided his home in Miami, Florida, thinking he was hiding there. Finally, on Friday, March 21st, 1930, at 1:30 p.m., Capone, also known as Scarface, appeared at a Chicago police station. Bubba Doo told the Pittsburgh prison cats that we needed to head home. The cats rubbed against him and thanked him for the story and the tuna fish. I hope this finds you safe, healthy, and sane. And please beware of wiener dogs in the mafia. They just started a new app called Pay Up Pal.